Deadline. The comeback came with massive numbers. The album sold more than 1.46 million physical copies on its first day, the highest number ever recorded by a female K-pop group. On paper, it should have been an absolute victory. In reality, it became one of the most controversial comebacks of the year. The problem started before the official release. The entire album leaked ahead of schedule, and the credits for one of the tracks included a producer who had been associated with rape allegations, immediately sparking outrage across social media. When the album was officially released, the reaction only got worse. Fans and internet users started using the word disband en masse, claiming there had been a massive drop in quality compared to the group's previous releases. The accusations included AI-like lyrics, vocals that were auto-tuned to the point of becoming unrecognizable, and the feeling that the official release was essentially just recycled material from the leak. The visuals also came under fire. The official poster was accused of being poorly edited, looking more like 4 individual photos pasted together rather than an actual group photo. And even though outlets such as Rolling Stone and AllMusic praised the album, that did little to stop the backlash. Instead, it only fueled the growing clash between professional critics and the hostile reaction online. Things became so intense that part of the fandom itself began publicly admitting that they were no longer excited about the group's group projects, saying they would only start following them closely again when the members released their next solo projects. A sign that the disconnect wasn't just about the music, but about interest in the group as a whole. The situation continued during the tour, with clips showing a lack of synchronization between the members and an apparent lack of chemistry on stage. Record-breaking sales, divided critical reception, but the fandom had already made its verdict. This was the group's worst moment yet. Arirang. After years of waiting, BTS finally returned with Arirang, one of the most anticipated albums of 2026. But despite the huge expectations surrounding the comeback, the project also became involved in several controversies. One of the first controversies emerged during the album's promotional period, when an animated piece related to Arirang was accused by some members of the public of containing elements of racism and whitewashing. But the criticism didn't stop with the visuals. When the album was released, the musical reception became quite divided. While several critics praised BTS's more mature and experimental direction, other listeners considered some of the songs generic and argued that the album failed to recreate the energy of the group's most iconic releases. Some specific tracks also became targets of criticism. Hooligan and Into the Sun, for example, received negative reactions mainly because of their use of vocal effects and autotune, which some listeners felt hurt the overall listening experience. In the end, Arirang was far from a failure, quite the opposite. The album received very positive reviews from several outlets and achieved massive commercial success. But precisely because it was such an important comeback, every creative decision was closely analyzed. Arirang managed to mark BTS's return, but it also proved that, for one of the biggest groups in the world, even an extremely successful comeback can spark a huge debate. Internet Girl. When the studio version was released, the controversy only grew. The biggest target of criticism was a stylized, high-pitched vocal effect that became the most controversial element of the track. Some listeners saw it as fun and connected to the song's concept, while others felt that it wasted the members' vocal abilities. The reaction on social media was only the beginning. On the specialized website Album of the Year, a major reference point for more critical listeners, the public rating plummeted to just 24 out of 100, based on nearly 1,800 ratings, placing the track at number 1019 in the overall 2026 ranking, a figure that practically confirmed, with data, what was already being seen in the comments. The song received polarized reactions from the moment it was released. Some people found it addictive, while others called it immature and brain rot, claiming it was designed for a very young audience. One review even argued that, considering how much effort the group had clearly put into the song, it could easily be considered an embarrassment to the music industry. Despite all the controversy, the commercial numbers don't lie. The track debuted at number 13 on Spotify's daily global chart, earned nearly 3 million streams on its first day alone, and entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 29, despite having little to no proper promotion. The result, undeniable commercial success, but the group's artistic identity was caught in the crossfire, with part of the fandom asking for this sound not to become the group's new identity. Crown. The group's 8th studio album was released on January 19, 2026, marking their return after 2.5 years, following 2023's Exist. On paper, it was supposed to be one of the most anticipated comebacks of the year. In reality, it became one of the most controversial. The problem started before the official release. The group returned with only 6 members, as Chen, Baekhyun, and Xiaomin, who make up the EXO-CBX subunit, were left out due to ongoing legal disputes with SM Entertainment. When the teaser for the title track Crown was released, the reaction was harsh. Many listeners felt that the song lacked the signature sound associated with EXO, describing the melody and production as generic and lacking identity. Some people also suspected the use of artificial intelligence in the music video's visuals, arguing that some of the dramatic elements looked too convincing to be real sets. The absence of CBX made the reception even worse. Fans and internet users argued that the group felt incomplete without the trio, saying that EXO's vocal identity had been weakened. When the album was officially released, the controversy intensified. Even though some fans enjoyed the comeback, many internet users continued criticizing the alleged use of AI in the music video and the obvious absence of CBX. Some even went as far as saying that the song sounded like a rejected track originally intended for another group. The final blow came with the numbers. The album sold just over 265,000 copies on its first day, a respectable figure for many groups, but one that drew heavy criticism because of the direct comparison. EXO's previous album, Exist, had sold more than 1 million copies on its first day alone. It's Me. The label managed to make the discussion surrounding Illit being a copy of New Jeans even bigger. The album's description on Apple Music directly mentioned New Jeans, saying that the album would finally put an end to the comparisons between the two groups. This immediately sparked outrage among fans on both sides, who accused Belift Lab of using New Jeans' name simply to generate buzz. The company quickly deleted the line from the description, but the damage had already been done. And the musical reception didn't help either. The title track It's Me divided opinions. In the comments on Album of the Year, some listeners complained that the EP moved away from the group's identity. Fans criticized the fact that the sound no longer matched the cute concept that had always defined Illit, questioning why such a change in direction was necessary now. Others criticized the album's length, 5 tracks in less than 15 minutes, calling it a reflection of how HYBE was allegedly draining the soul out of every group under its management. Green. After a debut that was praised by practically everyone in 2025, Quartus returned in May 2026 with their second EP, Green. Expectations were huge. The group was already being treated as one of the biggest rookies of the new generation, meaning every move they made was going to be closely analyzed, but the reception completely divided the audience. While some praised the album's more experimental and colorful direction, others complained that the group had abandoned the rawer and more alternative identity that had made their debut stand out. Tracks such as Red, TNT, and Ase were described by some listeners as creative, but by others as excessively chaotic and difficult to listen to. The statistic that best summarizes the reception comes from Album of the Year. There, Green dropped to just 37 out of 100 in the public rating, based on more than 1,100 ratings, making it one of the worst-performing major K-pop releases of 2026. The comments repeated the same criticisms. Listeners called the EP soulless, said the group had lost the identity established by their debut, and accused the project of relying too heavily on hip-hop trends without developing an identity of its own. Even with the divided reception, the numbers remained strong. The group maintained strong performance on streaming platforms, quickly climbed the Korean charts, and further established themselves as one of the most successful rookies of the generation. The result, a comeback that proved commercial success doesn't always mean consensus. Quartus continued to grow, but Green became one of the most debated projects of 2026 precisely because it divided even the group's existing fanbase. And those were some of the most controversial K-pop comebacks of 2026. If you enjoyed this video, support the channel by leaving a like and subscribing for more content about the world of K-pop. See you next time.